it's late, so I'm going to try to smash this one out because I'm doing it while it's fresh in my mind, but doesn't doesn't take away from how disappointing that game was. So we're not going to talk too much about the second quarter. We know the second quarter was fantastic. It was the best football we've probably played all year. 8 unanswered goals. I mean, there wasn't much more right that we could have done in that second quarter. We're playing the style of football that we want to play, and we put it on the scoreboard. The connection with inside 50 was spot on. And I don't know, everything seemed to be gelling. Shea Bolton was being, unselfish and hitting up Jacob Hopper, like Dusty kicks a goal. Like it was all happening. So as exciting as the second quarter was, I don't think we need to dwell on that too much because really it was an outlier. If you look at the rest of the game, we didn't kick any goals in the third quarter and we only got 2 in the last. And I know it was wet and the conditions weren't great, but it didn't stop the Dogs. The Dogs managed to kick goals, and we probably should have never found ourselves in the deficit that we were in at one point. So we'll get into it. I think the biggest killer of the night, and a lot of you have messaged me since the game is finished, and the biggest killer is our overuse and the handballs and the amount of times that we handballed it back into traffic, or you'd see someone running past who was running straight to an opposition player, bang, handball, gone. It was just, we're putting ourselves into so much unnecessary pressure that wasn't there to begin with. And we forced it and we brought it onto ourselves and we didn't need to. And instead of launching it long into our 50 and giving our forwards a chance, we're trying to muck around with it too much, piss around with it, handball it sideways, backwards, whatever it was. Or these little ones that we try to do over the top and they float in the air and it gives the defender 2-3 seconds to get there. It's hard to watch at times, and it's disappointing because a lot of the players we've got out there you think are more experienced and should know better by now, but it looks like they're trying to almost be too fancy with it, and I don't know, I feel like that style of football doesn't work for us. It never has. And we looked, I don't know, we just didn't look like a team that ever looked like winning, apart from, like I said, that second quarter. It's fresh. I'm just disappointed. Maybe there's a lot of negativity flowing through at the moment. I'm sure upon reflection I'll find a lot more positives, and there were positives. There definitely were. I thought our young kids were really good. Jody Clark, I don't know how he's only played 5 games. He looks like he's played a lot more than that. He looks fantastic. I thought Cumberland was great. I know he made a few mistakes and a few costly ones, especially late, but I think for the most part, a guy that's only played a handful of games at senior level, and he takes the game on, which I think is something you really want in players. You want them to take the game on and brush it forward, and he's got a great goal sense as well. Yes, his mistakes were costly. I think the biggest one being when Tom Lynch is by himself in the forward 50 in the last quarter and Cumberland turns, and he couldn't have found the Western Bulldogs player any better. Like, it was straight on the tit of the Bulldogs player. I can't remember who it was. He had Lynch at the back by himself. So I think that is the big one, obviously, but I don't want to dwell on that too much because I thought Cumberland was quite good other than that. Who else have we got? Jody Clark, Cumberland. Sonzi, I thought Sonzi was good. He wasn't bad. I didn't have his best game. I should go back and look at the stats, and he probably did a bit more than I've noticed, but here's another one. Hugo Ralph Smith I thought was really good. He got plenty of the football as well. These are all going to be our guys taking us forward, and I like what I see from them. But I think especially when the game got close, we felt the lack of experience in terms of broad, short, Robbie Tarrant even, who another one got injured in the VFL today. I think he redid his hip. So disappointing news there. Who knows when we'll see Robbie back at AFL level, if at all. Hopefully we do at some stage. But yeah, so I think we felt the lack of maturity in the side. Tyler Young was another one, who I thought was quite good as well. I thought he held up really well, played his role, did his job. And he'll play a lot more senior football this year. Daniel Rioli, he had a little bit more of a disappointing game last year. He came back this week. He had 29 disposals, 79% disposal efficiency, 6 tackles, 6 score involvements. It's exactly what you want from a player in his position and in his role. So I thought Daniel was really good as well. Shea Bolton was great. He kicked 3, I believe it was. He was around the ball a lot more. Like I said, played unselfish football. Dusty seemed to be back. He had a lot of the footy, was winning one-on-ones, kicked a nice goal. There's so many things that were working, and then there was just so many little things that were just, with this far off, I think a connection inside 50 isn't quite there, or if at all. I don't feel it when we're going forward, like we really know where to go. We're just kind of bombing it long and taking too long to get it there for starters. Our overuse of the football is absolutely killing us. We just can't seem to I don't know. We just take too long. We muck around with it too much. We overthink it. I mean, when we were playing our best footy, we were just getting it forward at all costs, and that's what was winning us games. And now we're thinking about it too much, slowing it down, and not giving players an opportunity. So for me, that's one of the bigger ones. Our disposal just wasn't clean either, and I know it's wet, obviously, but we used to pride ourselves on being a really good wet weather side. And I honestly think it may be an unpopular opinion. I think it's gone the other way. I don't think we're that great in the wet anymore. I think it's been an advantage for us for so many years, even before our premiership runs. I always used to have a bit more faith when Richmond played in the wet, but I don't know, something about us now, we just don't seem to be able to adapt like we used to in the wet conditions, and they hurt. They hurt. Like our key forwards didn't have a great day. I mean, none of them did, but then I think we felt the lack of Morris Rioli up forward, and I know he hasn't been as great the last couple of weeks. So I understand the reason for omitting him for this game, but I just saw it in the wet weather. You got someone speedy at ground level. He is clean when he picks the ball up off the deck too. Could have really come in handy. I thought he really could have come in handy in this game. Good to see Timmy Taranto kicked his first goal for the club. That was nice. Left it late, but it was in the last quarter. They got in the end of one, which was nice. Kicked his first goal for the club. It was disappointing. Not everyone got around him like you normally would. I know the conditions and the timing of the game, it might not have been optimal. Obviously everyone's pretty spent at that point of the game. You don't want your fullback sprint running to the forward line to get around him. But I don't know. I thought we probably needed a bit of a boost and something to lift us a little bit. And I know the goal should be doing that, but I feel like the whole club gets around one guy. Like all the players, the fans were getting around him. Who knows? It could have been a spark. So that was a little bit disappointing, but at the same time, I understand why. I'm just trying to say, the biggest thing was the inside 50s, the clearances. The centre clearances, we got smashed 16-8. And we brought in Tim Taranto and Jacob Popper to help us in this situation, these areas, to win these clearances, win the midfield battles. And we knew the Bulldogs' midfield battle was going to be a tough one. We knew it was never going to be a walk in the park. But to get beaten by double the amount, it's probably what cost us in the end. I mean, even in that last quarter, Shea Bolton kicks a goal. We're within a kick, and if we kick one more, we win. What we're going to do is win the last centre clearance of the game, and we couldn't do it. And I feel like we never can quite win those ones. Like, you know what I mean? And when the game's tight, we never win those centre clearances when they really matter. And that's why we brought these two guys in to help with that. And I know you're not going to win every one just because you got these two new guys in there, but to get beaten up around the ball like that was really disappointing. Again, the weather wouldn't have helped, but it wasn't like we were the only team playing in the wet. The Dogs had it too. So there's that. I don't like to use it as an excuse, but there was a couple of decisions late by the umpires that definitely hurt us, cost us. There was the Vlossen one against, I can't remember who was it against, but they reckon he got him high, directly in front, bang, set shot goal. Then there was the Aaron Norton push in the back from Tyler Young. He had his arms outstretched, but there was no push, I don't think. So a couple of disappointing ones that led to goals, and when you look at the margin, 4 points or whatever it was, and you think if those two don't go, who knows? I mean, the game still could have gone either way, but it is disappointing to see nonetheless. And I feel like the decisions, not just around our game or our team, but around the league, are getting worse and worse and worse, and not much seems to be getting done about it other than the AFL just ticking off decisions because they don't want to come out and admit fault. And I think you're almost better off doing so. I think at least it provides closure for fans and things like that. But anyway, that's a little bit irrelevant. I'm going off track a bit here, but you know what? We beat them in disposals. Inside 50s were disappointing. It was 64-48 Bulldogs way. Clearances, like I said, this is just around the ground clearances, 41-26. So we got beat up there as well. They beat us in marks. What else did they get us in? Disposal efficiency, they were slightly better. Possessions, they were slightly better. Free kicks enough to get into. Tackles, we were better, 80-66. So we put on more pressure, more tackles, which is what I want to see from us for sure. But it just wasn't. Didn't obviously pan out for us. 45-30 in the hitouts. This is the big one for me, and I love Nank and I love what he does around the ground, but I feel like he's not damaging enough in a tap ruckman situation. You need someone. If you're winning 45-30, we should be winning more clearances, and we just don't seem to do so. We had 145-140 contested possessions, so we're right up there with them in that. They even had more turnovers than us. Well, it was only 2, but they had 2 more turnovers than we did. So it was. The stats I know with the clearance-wise point more in the Bulldogs' favour, but then there was little things that we could have used to our advantage and we just didn't seem to do so, and it's disappointing. And we've got it really tough couple of weeks coming up. We got Sydney in Adelaide, and then we got the D's, Anzac Day Eve, which the last couple of years hasn't been the best game for us. So it's going to be a tough few games coming up, and I thought we just couldn't capitalise and make the most of situation. I mean, you're thinking having an 8-goal quarter in the second, that would be a bit of momentum, and you just keep building on it because it looked like the first we were rattled, second we steadied the ship and some, and then from there it was just not much. So yeah, look, disappointing. Like I said, I've been a bit negative in this. I'll probably put some more positive posts up in the next few days once I rewatch it and probably gather my thoughts a bit better. But I wanted to get this one out, get it recorded while it was fresh in my mind. It was a 5-point margin, obviously, which is disappointing. It was less than a kick. Well, it is close, but wasn't to be. And just for some positive news, if you look back to 2020, we had the same record at the end of round 4. 2 losses, 1 draw, and 1 win. So, look, it's possible to bounce the season back. Obviously, we're not the same side we were in 2020, and the competition is a lot more even. We've got some good sides coming up, but it is possible. So, have faith. I think once we get some players back, hopefully Shorty's not too far away. I know Broad still is 2 more games, but just some consistency in the side. We know what's going to happen. We can play some better football, but I don't think the missing players are the issue as such, but they will help for sure. So that's pretty much it. It's the Bulldogs review. It was disappointing. There's some positives to take. Our young kids are going to be great, and I'm looking forward to seeing them develop. But plenty to work on. Plenty to work on. It's still early days, but it's going to be a long weekend after a loss like this. So plenty to reflect on. So that's pretty much it. Like I said, until the what have we got next? Until the Sydney review video. Hopefully some more content in between. But until the Sydney review video, that's all we've got for today. Go Tigers.